Okay, so here we go looking at limited reagent and percent yield. Now we always when we have a gram of something, we need really to look into the moles. The number of moles is what the chemists use. So in this specific problem, we have 5 grams of fluorine, 5 grams of sulfur, and we make 5 grams of sulfur hexafluoride. So for any of these 5 grams, 5 grams, and 5 grams, we really need to look at molecular weight. From molecular weight, we can measure or calculate the number of moles. So if you look up or calculate for fluorine, it would be 37.99. For sulfur is 32, and sulfur hexafluoride is 146. Now, then we can go and measure the number of moles for each of these units or chemicals. So we ended up with 0.1316 moles of fluorine, 0.15625 of sulfur, and we produce 0.3423 grams of moles of sulfur hexafluoride. Now the next thing we need to do is really to find what the what's going on here? Find what the equation is, balance the equation. So we know that we're measuring calculate reacting sulfur with fluorine gas to make sulfur hexafluoride, but it's not balanced. We have 2 fluorine on the left and 6 fluorine on the right. We leave one of them alone. Let's say sulfur. If that's the case, we have 6 fluorine, so we need to have a 3 in front of the fluorine, and 1 here. So typically we don't show the 1. Now that tells us we have, if I react 3 moles of fluorine, 1 mole of sulfur, we get 1 molar of sulfur hexafluoride. But we don't have 3, 1, and 1. We have 0.13 moles of fluorine. Remember the first one was fluorine, so we had fluorine here. So if I use that fluorine, for 3 fluorine, I need 1 sulfur. So basically, to go from the number of moles of fluorine to number of moles of sulfur, the ratio is 1 to 3. So I have to multiply this. The factor that I need to use is 1 over 3. So what does it mean? That means if I use 0.1316 moles of fluorine, I need only 0.04386 moles of sulfur. Now let's look at the other way around. So this is going to help us to find what the limited reagent is. So if I instead of using number of moles of fluorine, I'm going to use number of moles of the sulfur, because sulfur, we calculated, we have 0.15625. So if I use that many moles of sulfur, again, remember it's 1 to 3. So I need 3 times of moles of fluorine. So I need 0.46 moles of fluorine, which I don't have. I only have 0.1316. So what does it really tell me? It tells me that fluorine is the limited reagent, and we calculate the product based on the limited reagent. So we have excess sulfur. We're not using all of it. So we have excess sulfur. So based on 0.1316, again, the ratio is 3 to 1. So I take the moles of the fluorine, divided by 3, or multiply 1 over 3. So I get 0.04386. So for this many moles of fluorine, I make this many moles of the hexafluoride, sulfur hexafluoride. And that's basically, if everything goes good, then 100% yield. So this is the 100%. Now, I don't have 100% yield. If you remember, when we calculate up here, we said we have 5 grams of the product. So that's 0.03423 moles. So ratio of this mole, which is 3.4 over the maximum, or the 100% yield, 0.04 times 100 is 78%, and that would be the percent yield for this reaction. Hope that helped.